News, sports, education, and entertainment. Wake up, GI, with Jeffrey Smith. Brought to you by the Geary Community Schools Corporation.
All right, everybody, we're back. It's a beautiful, beautiful Thursday. It's the 18th of April, 2024, and this is Wake Up, GI with Jeffrey Smith. We're at the top of the hour right now, and as I said, we've got a great set of guests that are coming on today, and we got our leadoff hitter up right now, a young lady that I'm getting the pleasure of meeting for the first time. From what I gather, she is a transplant from Wichita, Kansas originally, correct? And she has come over into Northwest Indiana where she is obviously practicing and starting her family and all kinds of stuff. So we appreciate her taking time out of her busy morning, I'm assuming, to come in here. And I got to meet her husband as well and spend a little time with us. So with that being said, let's go ahead and meet Dr. Maya Dominique, correct?
Yes.
There you go. Well, first of all, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it. First of all, I guess I always like to start off and familiarize myself with people that we just meet for the first time. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I heard that you were a transplant for Wichita, Kansas. And first of all, I'm a big Gunsmoke person, and I love Western. So when I hear Kansas, I'm absolutely all over it. Tell me what that was like and how'd you end up, and, you know, where'd you go to school in the whole nine?
Absolutely. So yes, my name is Dr. Maya Dominique. I'm a board certified OBGYN. I was born in Wichita, Kansas. I did all of my elementary, middle school, and high school training there. I went to Kansas State University.
Nice.
Left Kansas State University, then went to, I actually became a CNA. So I was a CNA for a couple of years. And I always knew that I wanted to be a physician. It was pretty much a God-ordained mission that God gave me since I've been 5 years old to deliver babies. And so then I left and went to, it's a long process. So I ended up going to Carbondale, Illinois, where I received my master's in public health and community health education.
You were hanging out with the Sudukis?
Yeah, Saluki.
Salukis, yeah.
So I went to SIU. I did get my master's, and I went to a post-bac program, which is called Med Prep,
yes.
Which I do attribute them to really supporting me with getting into medical school. Left there, went to medical school in Chicago Medical School, and then completed my training at Mercy Hospital in Chicago. Met an amazing man my last year. His name is Dr. Keith Ramsey.
Yeah.
I met him when I was receiving additional training in gynecological surgery.
Absolutely.
And from there, I had to pay back 4 years in an underserved community because I did receive a scholarship through the National Corps.
Right.
And through that, I had to work for FQHC. Talked to Dr. Ramsey. He was like, "Where are you going to be working?" I was like, "I don't know." He was like, I work for FQHC, which is North Shore Health Centers,
right.
which is who I currently work for now.
Yeah.
And so the rest is history. So I've been here almost 4 years, serving an amazing community in Gary and Maryville, Indiana. I wouldn't change it for anything. It's been one of the most rewarding opportunities to serve women and make sure that these women have the best care that they can have.
Now, first, let me just tell you that story is amazing. One of my best childhood friends is, I've got a couple that are doctors or in medicine. I myself, full disclosure, went to Tuskegee for veterinary medicine, so I'm a little familiar with the process. But your journey, what you just described, is amazing. And we don't normally hear about that path that you took. And what I mean by that is you went out, you became a CNA, you kept moving, and you were, and I'm sure there was different inspiration at each spot, and you cited some people that kind of helped kind of inspire you to move on to the next step. And the reason that I think that this is significant is because, you know, I run into a lot of young people nowadays over at the Career Center in the building that you're in, but over in that other annex, they have CNA programs, and I'm sure you know all those things. And even when I was at Tuskegee, we had kind of like a world-renowned nursing school. And a lot of times people don't really realize that doesn't have to be the last stop. Yeah, that can kind of take you on. And sometimes when you're out there being a CNA, when you're surrounded in medicine, you're getting that empirical evidence, that can kind of help you solidify your confidence in areas that maybe you didn't feel you were good at when you were just sitting in the classroom. You get out there, you start practicing it, you start living it, and then all of a sudden it starts to come naturally to you. And it's just an amazing story, and I don't really think we hear paths like yours, not just females, males or females, to go out here and say, you know, listen, I might, do this for a minute, but I can still go for the stars. I remember I was just talking I was listening to a TED Talk by a gentleman maybe a couple of weeks ago who is a trauma neurosurgeon. It's crazy. But this guy ended up going to Purdue at first, and he was an electrical engineer.
Yeah.
And so he found himself now in, this area. And it's just amazing how people's lives take them into direction. So I just wanted to tell you that is an amazing story. And I'm so glad you shared it with us. And, I know you're a busy woman, but trust me, one day you should make some time to talk to some of the younger people because you are absolutely an inspiration. Mm-hmm. I'm getting goosebumps right now. Mm-hmm. But with all that being said, let's go ahead and kind of learn about what you're doing now. As you said, you're an OBGYN, you work for North Shore Health. Tell us what that's been like.
Like I said, it's been an amazing experience. 4 years of serving underserved women, and also, I think sometimes when you think of FQHC, you think, people that, are only underserved. But I have women from all different walks of life that come to my health clinic. And they're coming, some of them are searching, really, like a lot of them, when they come in, I say, welcome to North Shore. How did you find me? How did you get here? And they say, I'm looking for a black OBGYN. Like, at this point, like, people are really interested in what they're looking for.
Right.
And the fact that, we're in an area where there are black physicians that are practicing. We are here to serve the community, and they're looking for us, and we're here. So it's been an amazing opportunity. We have a lot of women in this area that do suffer from a lot of trauma.
Right.
We're in an area where there's a huge food desert. A lot of people that may not know exactly the things that they need before they're pregnant, when they're pregnant, and after they're pregnant. However, there are people like myself that are determined to make sure that there's a paradigm shift in maternal health and in women's health, and that we make sure that these women understand what they really desire and what they deserve and what they need.
We're talking to Dr. Rolfe Dominique. This is her first time on the show, and we are absolutely enjoying it. She is an OBGYN with North Shore Health, and she's taken time out of her busy day, of course, along with her wonderful husband, to kind of introduce herself to this our community and things like that. And we appreciate her for that. One of the things you were just talking about, and I noticed this a couple of years ago, I was watching an ad, and it's one of the many apps that are out here. And the app was about younger, in particular millennials and things like that, who are approaching healthcare a little differently. They're going out here looking to tailor make their doctor experience. They're looking for somebody in a certain age group, somebody who might be kind of comfortable to them. And things like that, I didn't necessarily, people a little older than the millennials didn't really have options. Mm-hmm. You found out where the doctor was and you went to him or her and you just dealt with it. But now it's getting a little bit more tailored because you have the technology that can direct you and things like that. So as you were just talking about, has the response been overwhelming? Because even when you walked in, and I just saw how young you were and how personable you are, I assume that for first-time mothers and for people that you're a very comfortable sight. Have you had a lot of feedback like that?
Yeah, so a lot of women, when I walk in, they always say, I thought you were taller than what you were. That's the first thing. And I say, well, how can you tell someone how tall someone is or what you thought? But they always think I'm taller than what I am. The second thing is, some women do believe that I'm really young.
Yeah.
I'm not very young, as you can hear. I'm 40 years old. I'm comfortable with saying my age.
That's young.
I mean, that is young, right? And just in general, right?
Let me tell you something. In doctor's age, it's young. You spend a considerable amount of time in school. You're going through your residency. You're 40 years old. You're just hitting your stride right now. You spend a lot of time training. Now you're getting out here. You're living a life. You're practicing. You're establishing your patients. You are young. Go ahead.
Well, they think I'm much younger than 40 years old.
Yeah, of course.
So when I walk in, they're like,
they think you're the nurse.
For sure. They think I'm the nurse or I'm the student. But however, when we talk, right, and they understand like who I am and what I stand for and what I believe in, it makes a huge difference. Right. They do feel very comfortable, and they want me to take care of them. Right. And many women are like, I'll be back, and I'll be honest, it does my wait time is a little longer, only because I have a lot of patients.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm connected to my patients when I'm in the room.
Right.
And I tell my patients, I do understand if you have to go, and that's fine, but when I'm in the room, I'm here for you.
Right.
And I serve a lot of high-risk patients, and I refuse to just stop in the middle, or I only have 15 minutes, or only have 20 minutes. And I want to thank North Shore. I've told my CEO that before. Thank you for allowing me to be who I am in the office. And I tell women, if you can't wait, you just have to find another provider, because who I am and what I stand for is making sure that all women receive quality care. And if it is something that I know that my patient has a hard time having transportation getting to where I am, they've been waiting a very long and they're dealing with a chronic illness, I will take the time right then to serve them at that time.
Now, let me ask you this, because, that's kind of impressive. As I said, you're young, you're coming into a system, and when you're kind of joining this kind of corporate entity, right? And so, as you just kind of pointed out, my mind's kind of going, you are operating at your own pace. And, a lot of times you might have a network that says, well, we appreciate that, Dr. Dominique, but we're trying to run a certain amount of patients through here. So we're going to give you a paradigm to operate. We want you to go 15 to 17 minutes per visit, keep it moving. And you have kind of established yourself and saying, listen, I'm in this for the long haul. I want to establish a repertoire with my patients, and I can't go out here and operate cookie cutter. And it appears that they support you.
Yes, yeah. Actually they do. No one has ever said, now, I don't know after this when they say something to me, but they've never said to me, you need to hurry up.
Yeah,
And I think it's because the patients then tell them, like, Dr. Dominique took the time,
right.
She listened, and they come back.
Right.
So that's the main thing that we want to make
that's
sure,
what it is.
Yeah, the mission of North Shore is that, and I don't want to just say it the wrong way, but the main thing is that every person deserves quality health care every single time.
Absolutely.
Every person that walks in the door, no matter who they are, no matter what background they're from, no matter what they have, no matter what insurance they have, that they have or they do not, they deserve quality care every single time. And so because that's the mission that I operate in,
right,
it's really we work together.
Now let me ask you this, because there is a young lady who is coming in, the next guest. She's a frequent contributor on the show monthly, Dr. Jan Seabrook, who I'll be talking to in just a bit. But we've had many conversations over the years about this. But I want to ask you, because this is your specialty, and it's something I always try to wrap my head around. Here in the 21st century, the United States of America, we understand that there's wealth disparaging and things like that. But still, in a civilized, advanced civilization like we have, why do we have in the state of Indiana such a high mortality rate as it relates to births? I mean, what's going on? Why are we still here? It seems almost archaic.
Yeah. So, it's high everywhere, but Indiana does rank amongst one of the highest states in the United States. And what they're coming with research basically saying is that a lot of these deaths are preventable.
Yes.
And when they go back and look at them, they do realize that some of these women are just flat out not listened to. Right?
Thank you.
That's one of the main things that they see. There is some preconception health that goes along with that some of the women in this area are higher risk in regards to having hypertension, diabetes, obesity before. You have to also understand in this state, we have a lot of rural areas.
That's what I was about to bring up, yes.
A lot of rural areas do not have adequate training and doctors there. If, for instance, Dr. Seabrook, again, I've not met her, but I think it's getting really close just because her name is coming closer.
You're going to bump into her today.
For sure. and like I was talking yesterday, when I look at her, the name of her FQHC, Community Health Net, now she's come in and came in this area to make sure that people are caught, right, in the net, to make sure those are the things that are going to make the difference, to make sure that people actually have adequate health care.
Right.
But when you have rural areas, you have unhealthy people, you have doctors that are not listening to you, that is a space for disaster. Also, ACOG, the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, which is the overarching department that I actually I function under.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't say department, but organization that I function under.
That's your specialty.
Yeah, that's my specialty. Yes. So they have different protocols that they know are they have been shown to prove that can decrease maternal mortality, morbidity, and mortality. And if you're not following those protocols, right, if these protocols are not put in place, that is when you find the issue. So one area that we found were issues were in the emergency department.
Right.
So we have patients that have recently given birth. There's something called postpartum preeclampsia. There are two things that when I round on my patients, my postpartum patients, there's two things that I talk to every patient about before I leave. One is postpartum preeclampsia. Many women don't realize that postpartum preeclampsia can come back up to 6 weeks after delivery. And if it comes back up to 6 weeks after delivery, if they show up in the ER, and the ER doctor just sees a blood pressure of 160 over 97, they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll just give you some medication and send you home. Absolutely not. Those are the things that can cause mortality in women. So what ACOG has done is they have created these practice protocols.
Right.
And one area that we've also focused on is placing them in the ER. Some hospitals will put bracelets on women to let them stand out and say, hey, actually, I'm a postpartum woman, in order for the physician that rounds on them to understand. So it's about educating, getting a lot of people to understand what these protocols are. And that's actually one of my initiatives that I plan on doing, is making sure that the ER departments within the entire area understand these things.
And so the first thing comes to my mind, in particular for something like a discipline like yours, your specialty, is how many people that are very fluent, are very versed in obstetrics, gynecology, are embedded in the emergency room, because it goes back to what I was generally talking about with your North Shore and your situation, is that, when you're looking at the operation of an emergency room, I would assume the major focus would be dealing with trauma. But obviously you're over here going to have to deal with some, emergency childbirths and things like that. And it just would seem that there's a kind of a very generalistic mentality. As you just pointed out, no one's really in the weeds. Nobody is up on their education about really getting down and delving into it. It seems like once they identify, okay, this is a person in labor, we're going to go ahead and check the basic health of the fetus as well as the mother, and then maybe we'll sedate her a little bit and then kind of get her out of here so we can go out here and kind of deal with our trauma. Is it more important that hospitals going forward, in order to combat this, start to embed people who are very versed, who go to these conferences, who take the training, like what you're suggesting, and put them in the emergency room?
Absolutely. I can't speak for every emergency room, right? I do know that these protocols are out there and specifically targeted for those areas, just to make sure things are simplified, right? So they understand, if you have a patient that comes in with high blood pressure, these are the things that you need to do. Immediately notify your obstetrician. No, there's not obstetricians in every ER. I have seen that some ERs do hire obstetricians specifically there for those reasons, especially big trauma centers that have a lot of women that come in. However, I will say that at Methodist North Lake and South Lake, where myself, Dr. Maya Dominique, and Dr. Matthew Tipton, we practice, and of course there are Methodist doctors that also practice in those areas, because they know how serious we are in regards to our patients' health. When I say they call me, they call me. So I have the ER docs. They understand the protocols. They call me immediately. Hey, Dr. Dominique, I believe this patient does have postpartum preeclampsia. They're immediately on it. And I believe that is because they understand that the physicians that are there really are serious about making sure that our patients are taken care of. And sometimes it just takes you going down to the ER and I have conversations with them all the time, in the same way that there are other areas of medicine that I don't practice every day, that I don't really know exactly the protocols, and I'm not on top of all the evidence-based medicine that has recently come out. I do the same thing with my ER docs. I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. Just within 6 weeks,
bring them up to speed.
Bring them up. Hey, come up. I tell them, bring my patient upstairs. Right. I know how to treat those patients, and and that's what I found has actually been a huge benefit for me. And in my ER, as I say, speaking for my ER, we are doing the best that we can to make sure that these patients are taken care of. And not only that the ER physicians understand the seriousness of those illnesses and diseases, and how they can be completely different and show up different in a pregnant woman, and especially a Black pregnant woman.
I like that. Dr. Maya Dominique is in studio. She is absolutely amazing. She's coming out of the box, giving us a lot of information. Trust me, you're absolutely killing it. We're going to get to your event in a minute, and so I want to ask you one last question on this subject. And so I guess what I would ask is, let's get into quickly the rural community, because that's, obviously you think about their accessibility. That's probably the first barrier that they have. There's not a lot of hospitals within a certain range. And then when you just kind of think about the responsibility and kind of all the time going looking for a doctor, a lot of women sometimes will just wait till something gets serious or a little too late before they end up coming in contact. What do people say in your business, in your specialty specifically, about bringing back that kind of country doctor mentality? And what I mean by that is, when I was down in the South and things like that, it almost blew my mind to meet a couple of doctors that were still going around in these country areas making house calls. And I remember I saw one guy that first of all, I saw this one lady, this was up here, who ended up kind of turning me on to veterinary medicine, who had converted an RV, and she was going all over central Indiana as well as up here to serve some clients who necessarily couldn't get to vet clinics. I saw the very same thing happen down in Alabama with it was a Caucasian woman, but she was exactly what you are, an OBGYN, and she was just going out there checking on women's health. You know, sometimes she would even say she showed up and knocked on their door just to check on them when they didn't know that they needed checking up on. So is it time, you know, as we go and we're getting advanced and things like that with all the technology and things that are coming to medicine, is it time though that we still go back to some of the old things, and that is just kind of going around checking on our patients and meeting them where they are?
Absolutely. I think it's always great to meet a patient where they are. I think one of the things that's happening right now in medicine is there is a lack of physicians.
Yeah, I know. Dr. Siebert talks about it all the time.
So that's one of the most important things, is that we are actually recruiting physicians, right? And recruiting physicians that do live in these rural areas.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it. Yes, it would be great if you had enough physicians that could go out to the rural communities. Right now, there's such a shortage that there are opportunities called locum physicians, where these locum physicians go out and they pick up shifts in different areas just to serve the need in that area. And so I would say, you know, to answer your question, yeah, but we don't even have enough people to even serve the people within the major metropolitan areas, let alone someone that's gonna go out. But yeah, if that is your passion and that is what you would like to do, I think that would absolutely be great, you know, that you could serve. But a lot of my patients, some of them they do, because North Shore, we are crossing county lines.
Yeah, you are.
And when we cross county lines, what's one of the main things that they're doing? They're going out into these more rural areas that are getting a little, you know, going further away.
Right.
Between, you know, if you're going between this area and Indianapolis, right, and serving those areas. And some of my patients, they do have to drive 30 minutes just to get to the hospital. That we're one of the nearest hospitals to them. Right. So yeah, I think it would be great if people could go out to the rural areas, but it is a little bit difficult when you're already dealing with a lack of physicians. No,
you're absolutely right, and I think it's time that, you know, the government and some of these higher institutions start to incentivize. And what I mean is, you know, use a Peace Corps mentality. You described it when you first got in, like you go out here and you kind of lessen the economic burden to go and train to be a physician, and in exchange you get a little service out of it. Say, listen, all right, we're going to help you out on the bills and things like that, but when you come out, how about giving us 3.5 years or 26 months going out to these rural areas and going into the inner city and paying it back, and then we're even. So I appreciate that. I love having this conversation. Let's get to you got an event coming up on the 27th. Tell us about it.
I do. So this is a women's health fair. It is going to be at the Gary Boys and Girls Club from 11 to 3. Yeah. And so that opportunity is more specifically, I'm focused on pregnant women and women within 1 year postpartum. But as I was creating this event, I said, you know, I know that this issue that we're having with Black maternal morbidity and mortality, as everyone knows this week, or may not know, this week is Black Maternal Wellness Week. But, you know, it's going to take more than just me educating the pregnant and the postpartum woman. Right. It's going to take me educating the family. And when I thought about it, I'm like, well, let's bring the women in, right? Everyone to come in, and let me just sort of bring in something for everyone. Of course, this is focused on pregnant women and postpartum women, but I want to make sure that there's something that as women come in, they can get something, but they can also pick up the resources and knowledge for their sisters, for their cousins, right, for their nieces, and also bring the men in, right? Yeah. And so if we can bring the whole family in, the mother in, the father in, the child in, and they're all being educated, then even the child can understand and see some of the potential risk factors, or can see some of the signs and symptoms that their mother's not okay, and to call 911, right? So that's the purpose of this Women's Health Fair is, yes, we absolutely are focusing on pregnant women. However, it is going to take a village for us to change our community. Yes, everybody's going to have to come together. Yes. So we'll be there. We have over 25 vendors that are coming. Nice. We're going to have a DJ. We're going to have music, right? We're not going to do anything without a little bit of music. We're going to have free haircuts there. We're going to have a cooking demonstration, because we know that this area
Who's doing the cooking?
Okay, so we do have a chef that's doing the cooking, right? We have a chef that's doing the cooking. We have some other people that are coming in. There are also chefs that are helping in that area. But the main thing that I want to show is that you can actually have a very good meal, culturally friendly meal. Right. Something that you'd like to eat. That is actually budget friendly. Yeah. And that's something that you could make for your family, and not only that you would like, but that your children would like. Right. Because the main thing that I'm realizing now is I do a lot of detox and I do a lot of fasting, and you have to change your taste buds. You have to change the way in which
you do the intermittent.
Yeah, I do. I just do a little bit of everything.
Right.
But you have to change the way, and not only I'm trying to change the taste buds of my patients,
Right.
but also their babies.
Oh my
So
goodness.
if we can make sure that when these babies are born, that the first thing that we're automatically is not feeding them is this processed food that automatically goes to the brain.
You're preaching to the choir.
I'm preaching to myself too, because I'm also addicted to that food, right?
Yeah.
It is very addictive. And what happens is when you feed a child that at the beginning, it's very hard to sort of transition them to those really healthy, nutritious foods that they would absolutely love, that they've never even tasted before in their life.
Right.
So the whole purpose of this is to bring healthy nutrition in, to make sure that they understand how to make a budget-friendly, healthy meal. We have so many giveaways. Please, please, please come out and get some of these giveaways. I have strollers, I have car seats, I have diapers, I have I pack and plays, I have cribs, because another thing that, is safe sleeping.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that our babies, I understand that some of the homes that my babies go to, they don't have cribs.
Wow.
They're sleeping in the bed with possibly all their brothers and sisters, and everyone's just doing the best that they can. I have cribs. I have things specifically to make sure that our moms have what they need in order to take care of their babies. So please come out to the health fair. On the second day, we are doing a day of advocacy.
Yeah.
Because one of the main things is that when people, what I find is that people are really sometimes a little intimidated by doctors. They feel as if they can't really, say how they feel. Now, I do have some patients that do a really good job, and I actually commend them. I'm like, good job, right? Good job on asking questions. Good job on bringing your journals. Good job on making sure that I'm answering your questions. And so it's about advocacy, because one of the ladies that will be talking, she is related to me. She had postpartum preeclampsia. They were going to send her home from the ER.
Wow.
And I intervened, and I'm like, absolutely not. She did not go home. Please call OBGYN. And when they called the obstetrics unit, of course, did what they were supposed to do. But she could have been another statistic.
Right.
Someone that left the ER. And so the main thing for the second day is not just reaching in person, but it's a Zoom link that people can get on from all over.
Yeah.
And we can talk about what are the things, not only just advocating for yourself, but what hospital are you delivering
Exactly.
at? Do you even know what services they have there?
No.
Do you even know where you're going and what's available
Right.
to you? And so we'll be talking about those things, making sure that women are comfortable with asking questions, knowing how to ask those questions, and if they don't get the questions asked, what to do next.
You know what? I like this, and my audience is listening, and so full disclosure, they're probably cheering because I'm obsessed with this. First of all, obviously, it's my background where, when I was coming up and going to school, we were dealing with clients that don't necessarily able to communicate what's wrong with them. So my origin is in diet. And when I hear a physician, and I talk with one of my best friends who's a psychiatrist, and I always tease him because obviously his discipline, when I hear doctors, human doctors, talk without bringing in big pharma, you've already kind of come into my world. And so when I heard you talk about diet and things like that as the basis for the way you approach medicine, it was just so refreshing. And so I think that the way that you're running this health fair is absolutely, because while you're going to be dealing with some specifics as it relates to, giving birth and obstetrics, you're right. I think that, if we appreciate the female body and things like that, it kind of starts with what you put in it and how you take care of it. Because, one of the things I always appreciate about, giving birth and women giving birth is a very violent act. I mean, it puts a lot of stress on your body.
Absolutely.
And so if you don't have your body kind of ready for everything that's going to entail dealing with this, raising another organism inside your body and then delivering it into the real world at the end of that period, then, you're going to be up, you're going to open yourself up to some problems. And so I think that approach that you're having is a very holistic approach. I think the fact that you're educating people about their diets and just ways that they can just change their way of thinking. It doesn't have to break your bank. I mean, it's just a new approach that you have to food and what you put in your body. And then you start your kids off on that, and then it becomes it's innate in them at that point. And so now you don't really have to re-educate them. They just live that lifestyle, and they'll just pass it on amongst themselves and their friends. It's a very great approach. I really think this is a great thing that you're doing. So I'm very excited about that. So are there any costs involved to go here or anything like that?
Absolutely not. This is absolutely free.
It's free. All y'all do is give away stuff for free.
Just come, just show up. It's what's the building? Tolleson?
Yeah, Tolleson. I know that school.
It's Tolleson. Yes, please show up. Does everyone have the paper so I can just give the correct address? I don't want to give the wrong.
She probably has the
address.
paper. It's Tolleson, the
Everybody
Boys and
knows
Girls
what Boys
Club.
and Girls
19
Club on West 19th Avenue.
West 19th Avenue. Trust me, people know where it is.
Let's give the full address. I know they know, but some people may be listening like myself that's not from Gary.
I'll look it up for you.
2700 West 19th Avenue.
2700 West 19th Street.
2700 West 19th.
2700 West 19th Street. We will be there. Avenue. At 2700 West 19th Street Avenue. We will be there from 11 to 3 because I have these gifts. I want to give them away.
She wants to give them away.
And not only that, I want you to come because I, as a physician, didn't realize all these resources. Now, that was one thing that there are resources in this area because we're so high risk.
Right.
Our babies are dying. Lake County has the number one. We're number one in infant mortality before.
I know. I had the health commissioner on a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have so many resources. Nurse Family Partnership with Goodwill that are there. They'll follow you and your baby until 2 years old.
Right.
There's another group that I have coming that they will follow you and the baby until 5 years old. So there are so many different resources that are available out there. And I have the women that are going, women and men, that will be there to explain these programs, get you signed up. I have people coming to sign you up for health insurance at that time, right? You don't have health insurance, you're pregnant. Let's get you signed up there. I have bilingual. So if you're Hispanic and you only speak Spanish, don't worry. I have many volunteers that are bilingual to make sure, yes, that because that's who I serve. I serve a lot of Black and Hispanic women. So that's the whole purpose, was bringing these resources under one roof to make sure that these women understood what is available for them. So come out. We've got the resources. Not only have the resources, but I have the gifts. We've got the food. We have the haircuts. We got the DJ. We're going to be dancing. We're going to be having fun. So come out and let's have a good time.
You know what? Exactly. Because I get very upset when people put on and really tap in and provide these resources. We want people to use it because the education is really key. I mean, you're a wealth of knowledge, and all the stuff you put out is absolutely on point. But we as a community, and we have to go out here and kind of make ourselves accessible so we can go out here and lower these rates and better our communities. And so we appreciate it. Real quick before you go, shout out to your employer, because you were talking about North Shore and the doctor shortage. Let me tell you something. My wife and I, when we go onto our network with our healthcare, and North Shore pops up, and because I go to North Shore my wife goes to North Shore for one of her doctors, and when we go on our network and you go to North Shore, it's about 32 of you all that come down. So it doesn't look like there's a doctor shortage at North Shore. I tell you that much.
Well, you'd be surprised. We serve so many.
You serve
patients,
so many
right?
people. You're all over the place. Yeah. Absolutely amazing stuff. Do not be a stranger, Dr. Maya. This has been an absolute pleasure. Pleasure to meet your husband as well. And go out and do some amazing things, and we're going to keep it moving. So we're going to have people coming out and getting those strollers and dancing and eating. I want to find out about that food too. I'll be double checking.
Come get some of the healthy food.
All right.
We invite you too.
All right.
Because I know you have sisters and
well, I got a wife.
And you know, and the education is important for everyone to know.
Absolutely. We appreciate you. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back.